This is our panel about sneakers. And I'm going to start off with an audience question, or a question that was suggested to me by a member of the audience, which I would like to have all of our panelists answer, which is, what shoes are you wearing? And how much did they cost? Retail and resale, just to give everyone a little flavor of what this marketplace is that we're talking about.
We need to finish with Eddy.
I'll go loud.
Yeah, Eddy can go loud.
These are just some Prada dress shoes.
Retail, resale, same price.
Yeah, same price.
Harrison buys a lot of sneakers from Goat, so he's a massive sneaker enthusiast for sure.
We got to get you to wear sneakers next time.
I will. I figured we had to have a nice, diaspora of shoes up here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's flowing. Yeah, it's going like that way. I have common projects with their dress shoes for me. They're $400.
I've got on Adidas by Yohji Yamamoto Y3s. Retail, resale, same price, $330.
These are a little expensive. So these are the Tom Sachs Mars Yard. Tom Sachs is an American designer. He created this Mars Expedition project, and so he collaborated with Nike on these shoes. Retail about $200. If you look on our site right now, they go for about $4,500. So little expensive.
Yeah, so clearly a market with a lot of variation in availability, pricing. There's a lot of passion. I think it's a super interesting one. And I had Vlad and Eddy volunteer to just give a quick overview of who the different players are in the marketplace and what their differentiation is for those who might not be familiar.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, sneakers have always been a passion for a lot of people. I think you remember back in the day with My Adidas and Run DMC, they really were one of the catalysts of the sneaker craze. And back in the day, we used to only collect Jordans, a bunch of us, and it was only recently with Kanye, with a couple other players, where sneakers started to become just mainstream in lifestyle. We saw that kids instead of wanting to buy G.I. Joes, everything was digital now, but because everything's digital, everything's on social media, that's how you interact with your friends. So your fit has to be kind of fresh every single day when you're communicating with your friends digitally. And really what we saw was that, when we were kids, we could wear the same pair of sneakers every day to school. But now kids care so much more about fashion that we've seen a big explosion in the marketplace, because now you have to buy multiple pairs of shoes, multiple pairs of kind of clothing. So we've seen companies like Goat expand. There are other players in the marketplace, of course, Stadium Goods, which is now part of Farfetch now. There's StockX, which is kind of the stock market of sneakers. So we've seen, because the industry has grown so much, we've seen a rise in a bunch of marketplaces dedicated towards this. Goat started because my co-founder, who bought a pair of shoes from Meg's old company, eBay, he bought them and they turned out to be fake. And he was so mad. He was like, I spent $300 on a pair of Jordan 5 Grapes and they turned out to be fake. So we said, let's build a marketplace based on trust and safety. And that's how Goat was born, because we authenticate every single sneaker that comes through our platform.
No, I agree. I think, I would like to think of our business as like the traditional marketplace that was started years ago. And what we've seen is the evolution of marketplaces, from where we are, where Foot Locker was and is trying to go into the future. And, we see various types of marketplaces, whether it's footwear marketplaces, whether it's apparel marketplaces, and we intend to participate in all of them, but it's evolving. And I think Eddy hit it on. Kids growing up, I had to wear church shoes to church. Now you see kids running around in church in sneakers and everywhere you go in the workplace. So yeah, the marketplaces are growing, and we intend to be a big part of that marketplace dynamic.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, do you want to weigh in a little on what trends and changes in technology and new options are you seeing that are driving growth in the sneaker industry?
Yeah, I think Eddy hit on a lot of the key points. For me, a big part of it is sneakers, again, used to be kind of confined to, much more the world of athletics, and certainly didn't cross over as much into everyday life. Like, you couldn't wear a pair of sneakers like the kinds we're wearing here and go to work. The data suggests people's wardrobes are collapsing. People used to spend about 5 to 6% of their annual household income on apparel and clothing. That's down to about 3%. Wardrobes are just blending together. The lines are blurred, and I think this is what I would wear to work, to a conference, to a dinner, to wherever I'm going, and the sneakers are the same wherever I go. So I think there's that. I also think it was once upon a time really the athletes that drove the hype around sneakers. Jordan, or I remember the first pair of sneakers I really, really wanted when I was a kid was a pair of Bo Jacksons. Actually, the first thing I bought from Stadium Goods to kind of celebrate the acquisition by Farfetch was a pair of Bo Jacksons, because like they haven't been sold for however long, right? But they had a pair of dead stock Bo Jacksons. Now it's the tastemakers in culture. It's Kanye West, you know. It's artists like, you know, Cause or Tom Sachs. You know, it's people like that that are really starting to help breathe new life and sort of bring more people into the space and get them to engage with this medium. You know, what kind of handbags were 10 years ago for women? Like, you know, you had to have the it bag. I mean, sneakers are today, and it's just happening at such a pace and with such a proliferation of style and variety. It's really, actually, I have to say, fun consumption, and it's fun to be a part of it. There's a thrill of the Easter egg hunt, and that's sort of a whole new flavor that I think, you know, used to be there, but now technology has really enabled it in a much different way. So all these factors together, and I've not even scratched the surface, because then you have the emergence of markets like China, et cetera, which are going to continue to propel this for decades to come. So.
Cool. And athletes, right, have had a long tradition of business associations with sneakers and sneaker makers, but I'm curious, you know, Harrison, you've invested in GOAT. From your perspective, what is the athlete's role in the sneaker marketplace now, and how could that change, or how has that changed, and how could it change in the future too?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, one thing about me is I'm not a huge deal person. You know, since I've, you know, been out in California, just traveled around 7 years in the league, you know, I've only done 3 deals. So, you know, when the opportunity came to get involved with a company like GOAT, you know, it just made sense for me, because I believed in, one, the leadership, you know, the people who were behind it, the vision that they had, but sneaker culture, especially as the athlete, I mean, it almost goes hand in hand. Usually your sneaker deal is your biggest endorsement that you're going to have, you know, as an athlete. And then second, it's the culture that we grew up in. I mean, as a kid, whether it was eBay, whether it was Eastbay, you know, finding sneakers, going to a Foot Locker, trying to get the latest shoe, to now having the whole sneaker culture monetized in a platform, or you can go to an app and you can see, you know, what sneaker you want, when it's dropping, you can go resale it, you know, everyone has a huge collection. I think just being a part of that movement was something that was exciting to me and something I wanted to get involved with.
Yeah. And did you find it because it was like a personal interest, or how did you end up making this investment?
I shopped on it. I mean, that's just the natural progression of things. And then, so when the opportunity came to, hey, would you like to get involved? It's like, oh, you know, I already used the product. I know what it's about. I would love to get involved. I use Farfetch as well. I couldn't get in. But, you know,
Not too late, man.
But those were kind of the things that just made me kind of go down that process of, okay, I use it, I like it, I know this industry, let's see who's behind it. Okay, that clicks, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. For us, players are so important to our industry. I mean, they're the influencers for a lot of our next generation of shoppers. No one wants to see me sell sneakers, but you know, someone like Harrison or someone like Kyle Kuzma, who was our first ever GOAT athlete, he represented our brand, and he was our first kind of endorsement deal, because he's respected by his audience. And the reason why we did it, it wasn't because he's also a great player on the court, but we really wanted to celebrate his life off the court. A lot of players want to build their personal brands. And so we were just like, hey, Kyle, we can work with you to celebrate how your lifestyle is off the court, because you have an endorsement deal with Nike, but why don't we showcase you in actual life, doing charity work in Flint, Michigan, things like that. So he was really excited to become our first ever GOAT athlete, and it's just been a great partnership because he is respected in the community, and he, you know, just a great mouthpiece for us to kind of expand the brand.
Yeah, and I think for us, you know, historically, you've seen, I think what we've engaged at Foot is making sure every athlete has a voice. Like, you know, we just did a campaign with like PJ Tucker, where years ago it was always like everybody had a thought about who they thought the athlete to have a voice should be. And we did this campaign with PJ Tucker, and we've always done these very funny over the years ads, but like we've given athlete, we got to give athlete a voice. Doesn't matter who you are. I think kids today look up to athletes. Kids look up to anybody, and I think that's one of the things that we just are really passionate about doing, giving everybody a voice. Because I think the sneaker industry, one of the things that it's done is just opened up a lot, opened up new entrants, new players, and I think it's our job to facilitate that growth and to enable that growth. And we're just super excited about giving everybody a voice, and whether it's the PJ Tuckers, the Kyle Kuzmas, the Harrison Barnes, everybody has an opportunity to have a voice. And it's not about what people historically thought an athlete was. It's about like, hey, who has the best ability to connect with the youth today?
Yeah. I think the ingredients that make people want to buy things fundamentally have not changed over decades. It's desire, aspiration, somewhat scarcity drives desire. These things all kind of, there's a confluence of factors. And I think one of the things for me that's been really interesting, because I come at this from the angle of fashion, right? My background is fashion. Farfetch was a luxury fashion marketplace that got into the sneaker marketplace business through the acquisition of Stadium Goods. But just this past week, it was Paris Fashion Week. I'm from Syracuse, so I follow Carmelo Anthony. Anybody who can introduce me to him in this audience, I will be grateful for that. Please, I'll give you my number later. The guy's one of my heroes. Brought us our only NCAA championship and all that. But anyway, he was in Paris this week, at the Berluti show, head to toe. And then, while he was there, he was engaging with kids in Paris on basketball. He attended the Jordan launch with Paris Saint-Germain, the things they're doing to co-brand the Paris Saint-Germain soccer team. All these factors are coming together, and the lines are blurring again. And I think, sneakers, Yohji Yamamoto is a fashion designer, Japanese fashion designer, but he's collaborating with Adidas. So it's sort of like the elements of athletes crossing into fashion also just puts a nitro boost into the desire that was already there for sneakers, because now sneakers are fashion. The designer Kim Jones, who works with Dior, said it perfectly. He's like, I'm tired of this term streetwear, because it's sort of, there's this connotation that it's from the street. He's like, streetwear is just fashion. We should just drop the word street. It's just fashion. It's what people are wearing these days. It's what they want to put themselves out to the world in this way, whether it's the sneakers, whether it's the whole look, it's fashion.
And it inspires confidence,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I think one of the, we're involved with this company called Super Heroic, and it's a great brand, but one of the things that Jason's mission is to inspire confidence in young people at an early age. And that's what you see now. Hey, it's about fashion. You wear a nice pair of shoes, you feel confident, and it's just a growing industry, and I think that's one of the big things.
And speaking of kids at an early age, what's crazy is that we have a couple 100,000 sellers, and parents have come and told us, hey, my kid's learning about business because they're these micro entrepreneurs now who are selling probably something for the first time on the internet, and they're learning about how to sell a couple things so that they can buy what they exactly want. I mean, some crazy stats, in 2017, some of our top sellers individually sold about $2 million worth of sneakers each. Last year, a lot of sellers sold over $10 million of sneakers. So this is a major business now because of the growth of the industry.
Yeah.
And speaking of buying and selling, I think just the other day there was the news that StockX, which I think has kind of a different approach to sneakers than some of the companies represented on stage, they treat it more like a commodity that's traded. I guess it's not as much for wearing. I'd love for you to weigh in on that. But yeah, StockX is now worth more than $1 billion. That was big news in the sneaker world this week. What are your takes on people? Are you going to see a splintering in how people approach what a sneaker is and what it could mean or be valued as?
First of all, it's great validation for me, right? I'm happy whenever our people in our industry have big valuations. That means there's a big pie to be had.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
No, it was a great day for us. I think it just, the StockX news, congratulations to them. It just confirmed our thesis on that this is a growing industry and that the industry is evolving. And we always felt like we wanted to be at the forefront of change. And we spent a lot of time with a lot of partners, and we feel like GOAT is that platform that's going to grow. And we're very confident in this industry, and there's various forms. I think, yes, the sneaker marketplaces are one thing, but we see DTC brands that are disruptive in nature are going to be opportunities for future growth. We see subscription businesses. What StockX did is validates that this category is real. It's here to stay. And the GOAT guys were really happy yesterday. Hey, this validates our thesis that this is an industry that is just at the beginning of what it can be.
Yeah. At a cultural level, it's really interesting what they're doing too, because they're probably introducing for the first time this idea of stock market to a new generation, right? Yeah. So if I'm a young kid, the idea of trading shares is a little bit existential to me. I don't get it. But if I think about sneakers and the value that I ascribe to sneakers, I get that. And then broadening that out, I think they're obviously trying to expand into other categories. They've done handbags, watches, other things. I think part of the announcement was hiring a new CEO who had come from eBay and actually had also had experience on the New York Stock Exchange. I love his quote because he reached out and said, "I'm probably the only person in the world who knows how all of this fits together. You need to hire me." And I think that's really great. I'm interested to see what they do. I also think they're going to most likely, because of his experience, double down on this peer-to-peer experience, which is also really exciting. Because then I think you get the sense that you're participating in a community. Like there's somebody on the other end of that transaction, and that that person who sold $10 million of sneakers has got a lot of people who are benefiting from what he's selling. It's kind of a cool experience. You do feel like when you participate in this, you are a part of a community, which I think is different from traditional retail as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely agree with you, and I think it's just staying true to who you are in these businesses. I think one of the things that we truly love about the GOAT platform, we know footwear is an opportunity, and we know as time goes on, we'll get into big categories that are adjacent and that are close. But I think that there's so much opportunity that along these businesses that you just don't want to be everything. You just be true to who you are, and then you'll have a meaningful business. And I think the footwear business is at its infancy.
We will open it up for audience questions in a minute, but I think before then, one more question from me. I'm curious, for those who are in the audience who are interested in taking part in this growing marketplace, what are some of the ways that they can invest? Obviously there's an opportunity if you're a venture capitalist or a firm like that to invest in the companies themselves, but maybe from Harrison's point of view, from a player's perspective, are there other ways to get involved, or is it also looking for investment opportunities in the companies themselves?
And the biggest way to get involved is to learn, to do your research, to figure out, what, when a Foot Locker invests in GOAT, what does that mean? What is Foot Locker's position? How is GOAT expanding? What's going on with the technology behind, their business that makes them unique from StockX and other companies like that? I think that's the biggest way that, athletes can get involved and learn, if you don't want to put up dollars or if you don't want to, take the time to do meetings and all that type of stuff, how can you learn and expand knowledge that way?
Yeah. And we're always open to have a conversation with whoever, and part of this is just knowledge sharing and spending time. So we're always open to a phone call, a conversation, a coffee. Whether it's in San Francisco, whether it's in New York, whether it's in LA, easily reachable. And I think Harrison hit it right on the note. It's just all about having that conversation, because you never know where that conversation may lead, because we see things that may be an opportunity for an athlete that, I didn't know this was happening. So I think it's just about conversations.
I'll extend the invitation as well. I think anybody who wants to have a conversation. One thing about this market that I've been really intrigued by is it's populated almost entirely by people who are hustlers and entrepreneurs. And I say hustlers in the most positive way, right? Really, really scrappy hustlers. Because this is something that probably they came up doing since they were teenagers, right? They were exchanging. It used to be that you'd do it in a parking lot, right? And it's find somebody to be a little dodgy, but now it's, technology enabled. I also think, building on something that, Meg Whitman said in the previous conversation, it's, technology has been the sort of disruptive force of the last generation. It will remain that. But one thing that I believe is there's not a ton of absolutely brand new ideas out there. It's applying things that previously worked, but using technology to do them better. And I think there are opportunities in the space, in the sneaker marketplace, that probably could leverage best-in-class ideas from other areas and apply them here. I'll just give one example. It's a small startup app that I'm a fan of personally. I think is doing some interesting things. It's called Laced. And basically, they're basically taking the reverse auction style. Everybody's seen that commercial where it's I bought this MacBook for $11, right? Well, they did and they didn't. They bought a bunch of bids and they were sort of reverse bidding up until it got to the winning bid. And obviously, on the other end, the company's making thousands of dollars on that MacBook. That's a cool idea, right? Because it keeps all the elements of the Easter egg hunt. It keeps the excitement of winning, which is a big part of the sneaker marketplace. You obviously end up buying it for a fraction of the actual price. And I think that's cool. Somebody had a good idea. They took an existing kind of framework and they just applied it to this space. And then the other thing Meg said, which struck me, is B2B. There's a ton of inefficiency in the sneaker marketplace as well, a ton. And I think where probably the biggest synergies that exist between Farfetch and Stadium Goods, people are quick to point out the front end synergies, like get more product onto the Farfetch marketplace, which is global. All these things that are customer facing. The biggest synergies by far are on the back end, around logistics, supply chain, technology. So anybody who's an investor, today or interested in getting into those spaces, the space is ripe for opportunity to just bring better solutions, better problem solving, and ultimately probably better technology to the sneaker marketplace, because it is a pretty, I mean, logistically speaking, it's kind of an inefficiency still.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, you bring up a great point, right? Like, when each of the businesses that we've invested in and all the businesses that we continue to talk to, we always talk about, I mean, we'll talk about SaaS in a bit, so don't laugh at me, but like, we always talk about this RaaS model, as retail as a service. How do we leverage our locations? How do we leverage our supply chain network around the world? How do we leverage our operational skill set? Because yes, we partner with a best-in-class entrepreneur like a Eddy or a Jason or Rachel, but some of the things that we bring to the forefront are operational skill, operational things, and we continue to look at businesses that can make us better, and we continue to partner with businesses that we can help to make them better through operation. You're right. It's like sometimes we're so focused on the front end, but the real juice is sometimes really on the back end.
I think one way to get directly involved is to forget crypto, because sneakers are a great store of value.
Yeah, exactly.
These sneakers, yeah. Vlad has these same exact sneakers. We talked a year ago. He bought them for $1,200. I bought mine right after for $1,800. They're now $4,500. So to get directly involved, you just got to buy the hot sneakers. And we have a storage feature actually on Goat now. You can just buy it and store it in one of our warehouses and sell it or take it later. So you can just store it, make money off of it, and you can directly get involved in the sneaker game.
My wife wasn't happy with the
Strong.
purchasing. My wife was not happy with purchasing shoes for $1,500.
So if anyone, are there any audience questions? And please wait until let's do that, and let's wait until you have the mic before you talk. Thank you.
Eddy, you should be bubble wrapping your feet with those shoes on. But my question's for Harrison. I'm curious, as guys step out on the floor, NBA players step on the floor during a game, say if you're guarding somebody, are you looking down at their feet or not? I know the politically correct answer is to say no, but we want to know the truth.
More than likely, you already know which guys are wearing which shoes before you even get out there. You know, I was an Adidas guy for a long time, so I knew, you know, who the Adidas guys were on the other team, who the Nike guys were, Jordan guys, whether it was a Chinese company. So you pretty much know before you even step out there.
Other questions? Oh, back there? Or over there?
Hey, I'm Arjun Mehta. Quick question is, I think we're all witnessing the shift from ownership to access, right? I think the subscription economy is evidence of that. Do you see the sneaker world also undergoing this shift from ownership to access? Like, do you see a world where people just, instead of buying sneakers, pay like, I don't know, $100 a month to wear 4 different sneakers a month, send them back, get 4 new ones the next month?
I think that's a super interesting question. I don't mind to take that on. So Farfetch, actually, we just launched a campaign around responsible business called Positively Farfetch, which is, I mean, I guess sustainability would probably be the core that we're trying to solve for. But a big part of Positively Farfetch is called Positively Circular, and it's about getting involved in more of the circular side of our industry, particularly pre-owned, resale, things like that. The thing about this sneaker marketplace is today it's 100% focused on never worn, you know, dead stock. Actually, it was really funny to see Nike kind of poke at that with this pair of Air Jordans they launched, which were called Not for Resale. And then it's like on the toe box it says, you know, crease here. And like they were playing with that idea that like people want it brand new, fresh out of the box. But I think, look, if Eddy wants to sell me his Mars Yards, I'm going to buy them. I probably don't want to pay full price because they're pre-worn. But my point is there's a market for that. It's not necessarily being featured enough today to where people are putting the kind of pre-owned front and center. Which is funny because like maybe it's because you think, well, I don't want to wear some shoes somebody else has worn. That's gross. Actually, it happens already. I mean, the Real, Vestiaire Collective, these companies they're selling pre-owned Manolo Blahniks, Christian Louboutins. Like they obviously sanitize and get them ready for resale. So it absolutely is a thing. Rent the Runway, a company that probably could roll out if they haven't already. Maybe they have. Somebody can tell me. Like a footwear component to what they're doing. Absolutely a viable business opportunity. So again, another way that probably our collective community could expand its interest is in getting more involved in the circular side of it. Things have a long shelf life that should be maximized.
Yeah. We actually are taking the first steps into that. Actually, about 15% of our sales are pre-owned, and we have this whole Go Clean program where we take used shoes and we refurbish them. We clean the laces. We take the gum off the soles. We really go deep into the shoe, deodorize, of course, the shoe before we resell it. So it's going to start.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it a lot, too. I think, historically, people will never buy somebody else's used shoes. But now, a Yeezy shoe, you'll see a lot of it in the aftermarket that's been a used product. And so we're seeing a lot of that. I do think there's a place, to your question, there's a place for a subscription model. I think that, the entrepreneurs in this room will figure it out and we'll continue to partner, but there's definitely a place for a subscription model. We see that because there are times when people want you to make the choice for them, to offer them something, because sometimes people don't have the time. They have so many other things going on that they just want you to make the choice for them, send them a box. And sometimes guys like Harrison Barn influence people and they see them with something and they want that. So I think, there's a place for subscription, there's a place for used product, and I think it's just a growing ecosystem in general.
Cool. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today, unfortunately, but obviously if you have questions, feel free to find our panelists afterward, and they're a wealth of information about what's on your feet. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you.